Peace. Good morning. I'd like to welcome you back to another edition of the Foul Playland. As always, I'm your Foul Player. Wanted to make this video regarding uh, Biden gaffe that happened today. Um, Sorry that I haven't been making content in the past couple days, but I've had a funeral to attend to. My best friend's mom had passed recently, and rest in peace to her. In addition to some other stuff, my brother's hospitalized. Um, with just a couple things. Just been dejected, or out of energy too much to come on here and make videos and whatnot. And plus, my allergies have been killing me. But anyhow, to the nature at hand, glad to be back. But I wanted to talk about the lie that Joe Biden said yesterday in remembrance of the tragedy that happened on September 11th, 2001. 22 years, wow. But I'm sure everybody remembers where they were on 9/11. I was actually out of the country. Remembered vividly what I was doing that day. Remember being worried about my mom, because my mom used to travel to the Cortlandt Street train station to go to New Jersey, and she had said she was gonna do it that day, but she ultimately didn't. She was okay. She was nowhere near the site. But rest in peace to all the people that did pass. And I'm not alone in the fact of knowing where I was on 9/11. I think most Americans that were 10 and up knew where they were on that day. And unfortunately, the leader of the free world was either confused or outright lying about where he was that day. I think it's the latter. Joe Biden has a tendency of lying, like to make himself be a pivotal character, like in a story that he's saying, or just to make himself look like tougher or more cowboyish. I don't know how to explain it, but if you follow him with any sort of veracity, you'll see what I see. Unfortunately, the liberal media, they choose to gloss over it, so this stuff doesn't get covered. But anyhow, Joe Biden yesterday from Anchorage, Alaska, I believe, made a statement in remembrance of 9/11, and he talked about how he felt staring at the collapsed buildings, and he was referencing how he felt standing over them and how it looked so hellish. And I'm paraphrasing, but the story consisted of him being at the location. Unfortunately, there's a video that exists of Joe Biden actually being, and this was him saying that he was there on September 12th, the following day. The unfortunate part of all this is that he was actually in a Senate hearing on the following day, and there's video of him doing such. There's actually, and a lot of people followed it up by showing the two clips of Joe Biden saying the lie that he was at the crash site or at the building site in New York City on September 12, 2001, followed by the actual video of where he was on September 12, 2001, which was actually within the halls of the Senate. And this happens a lot with Joe Biden. Like I said, he's a serial liar. Joe Biden has lied about being involved with the Black Freedom Movement in the 60s. He wasn't. Joe Biden lies about his travels, like saying that he's tracked millions of miles on Amtrak, in addition to one of the Amtrak conductors telling him how he's traveled more miles on Amtrak than Air Force One, and that conductor squeezing his cheek and calling him Joey baby. He says this story like 7 times, and it was actually found out that the conductor that he's referencing actually retired like in the 90s before he got to travel on Air Force One or Air Force Two. These are not like the only stories. He lies about a ton of them. I would like to have come with a list. I try not to make lists when I do videos, but he's said a ton of tall tales along the way, and he never gets called out on it. I mean, if Trump were to say a lie of that veracity, such as standing on the bones of a collapsed building due to a terrorist attack like happened in 2001. If Trump were to have said that, you could have probably wrapped up Trump's presidency on the spot, because the media would have been covering it at all times, 24 hours a day. They still cover Trump in a negative light when they could, but Trump's tactic of staying out of the media because the media won't have him is actually working to benefit him. But it's also sad that the leader of the free world, the most popular president of all time, who received the most votes of all time, in Joe Biden, doesn't get nearly the amount of coverage that merited, particularly when he's falling constantly and when he's fibbing constantly, screaming on reporters. He actually made himself look like a fool in the G20 meetings on September 10th, the day before yesterday, saying that he had to fall asleep, yelling at reporters, calling Vietnam a third world country, being cut off by his own press secretary in the middle of a statement after he called Vietnam a third world country, saying that he's following orders from other people. The leader of the free world shouldn't follow orders. He should be giving orders. But, and this is all one day. These past couple points that I mentioned were all one day of Joe Biden screw-ups. And they happen a lot. But one thing that I am glad, and before I even get to that though, but I remember the Washington Post during Trump's presidency had a ticker or a track counter, if you will, or a counter of President Trump's lies, or it wasn't just lies. They were like lies or misquotes or things that they would follow up with like a fact check of their own. And if you go back on that too, a lot of the stuff that they fact check on after the fact was actually Trump telling the truth. Like things that were taken out of context, they would count that too. And it was in the thousands, like the amount of things that they tracked as far as Trump's supposed lies. And this was done by the Washington Post. They're a respectable newspaper, a respectable publication in most people's eyes. But why don't they keep up with Joe Biden's fibs and the tons of Joe Biden lies? Like Joe Biden made campaign promises that he didn't keep up with, i.e. the $2,000 stimulus checks that he said he was going to give everybody. Ended up being $1,200. Not that I give a shit, but I think a lot of people, in a joking fashion, would use that as a reason as to why they were going to vote for Biden. At least in the hood, like, nah, he's going to give another stimmy, so I'm voting for him. So, why don't the regular media keep up with the fibs, the lies, the screw-ups, the falls of Joe Biden, like they did with such veracity with Trump? I remember Trump coming off a ramp and he misstepped, which I could understand. It's a ramp. I misstepped on my front steps a couple days ago. But they covered that, and they were saying that Trump might be unhealthy or unfit to hold the presidency due to health reasons because he simply stumbled on his way down from a ramp. Biden's full on fallen in every fashion you could think of. Bikes, steps, you name it. He's done it as far as falls that he's had, physical falls, during his time in these 3 years as president. But the media chooses not to cover that. And if I have to assess things, the deeper this goes, in which the media, turns a blind eye to things and tries to dress things up as something else like they've been doing. One good thing that's coming out of that is that people are not tuning to the media as much anymore. I think the COVID era was probably peak season for the media coverage because it was constantly talking about how dangerous the virus was, in addition to shitting on Trump. They had the peak ratings probably ever historically, and people were stuck indoors. But now, damn, this cat's fucking with me. Get out of here. But now, people are tuning out of the media. I think it started a lot of time, like largely when Trump dipped, and like a lot of the bad coverage that Trump was getting, because even people that like Trump were tuning into bad coverage of Trump 2022 and or 2021 and earlier. I think people that dislike Trump and like Trump were tuning in. But now I think people largely distrust the media, don't even follow the popular media. I think the media now is on YouTube, and YouTube's highly censored itself, but also alternate sites, and that's happening more and more. Joe Biden, in a large way, is the like the peak or epitome of the media being tuned out. Joe Biden is almost like a weight around the media's neck, because they're propping him up by not covering him, and by not covering the tons of scandals that are attributed to Joe Biden. Tara Reid, rape claims, the document scandal that he has in the University of Pennsylvania, Hunter Biden scandal with the laptop. All these things are being glossed over, if not covered by the media at all. And people are going to look for those stories on their own in other sites. And by default, it's killing the media. And that's a good thing. I think that the last leg to drop in this country and around the world is the media being torn apart, or the media losing its might, because the media operates as another extension of bad government, or the uniparty, if you will. So, and I think that's the last leg that the uniparty, or the deep state, if you will, whatever you want to call it, the media is the last leg standing of that whole operation. And when that falls apart, I think the people will be way better off for it. But let me know what you guys think.